Welcome to America This Week. The days are getting shorter, the nights longer, and the chaos spreading across the nation is showing no signs of slowing down whatsoever. Unofficially, summer runs from Memorial Day in May through Labor Day in September. Typically, the lazy days of summer are a time for fun, relaxation, barbecues, and baseball. This summer of 2020 has been anything but that. Leading up to the summer, things were heating up. America was mixing a toxic cocktail of pent-up animosity over race, a pandemic that scared the bejesus out of people, and a divisive presidential election on the horizon. The ingredients added up to a volatile concoction of emotional explosives just ready to go off. Almost poetic in its timing, on Memorial Day, the murder of George Floyd lit that fuse, and summer 2020 exploded into mayhem. Portland, once a gorgeous city, the Rose Gardens are awesome. By the way, try the Voodoo Donuts, amazing. Now, a smoldering hellhole of self-righteous leftists surrounded by too scared to fight citizens. Portland has been an epicenter for protests for a decade. Antifa, the left-wing troublemakers, weaseled its way into peaceful protests and turned them into violent chaos, proving once again they're nothing more than professional agitators financed by wealthy socialists who hate the American way of life, freedom, liberty, capitalism. Keep your eye on Portland. It may not be over in Portland. Seattle, once an absolutely stunning, beautiful city with sprawling ocean views. Seattle may even be hipper than it is gorgeous, known for Pike's Pier, a seafood palooza. 2020, however, Seattle was the site of one of the most peculiar social experiments in American history. The Chaz turned shop was the autonomous zone created when protests turned violent and the city's police precinct was overrun. When Mayor Jenny Durkan instructed her police force to stand down on the violent agitators, Chaz was born. It didn't take a fortune teller to see the problems that keeping first responders out of an area filled with agitated protesters, free-wielding firearms, and mixing in a cocktail of drugs, what that would create. A few weeks of mayhem led the police chief to resign, which was followed by 2 murders. That wasn't what ended the Chaz experiment, however. It wasn't until the mayor's mansion was surrounded by protesters that finally got Mayor Jenny Durkan to stop the violence, for now. Minneapolis was known for its clean streets, not its mean streets. A Midwest hidden city of a gem, known for booyah, a stew they cook in 100-gallon vats. But Memorial Day 2020, Minneapolis changed. The murder of George Floyd was the torch that lit the city and the country on fire. Race replaced the deadly pandemic on TV screens all over the world, and it all started when a white cop kept his knee on a black man until he suffocated while 3 other cops stood by, watched, and did nothing. The streets of Minneapolis exploded in chaos. From that moment, the video went public. If you thought Chaz was bad and Portland was ugly, Minneapolis blew them out of the water. Rioting begat looting. Looting begat murder. When it was finally over, for the time being at least, Minneapolis looked more like a World War II bombed-out city than a Midwestern American gem of a city. Kenosha, just a short drive north of Chicago, Kenosha always lived in the shadows of the big cities, Chicago and Green Bay. Cheese breadsticks, by the way, are a Kenosha favorite. But in 2020, it began. Another unarmed black man was shot in the back by white cops, and Kenosha erupted, to say the least. Even as, and I'm not downplaying the magnitude and the anger and resentment flowing from the Floyd murder, but even as the country was trying to heal from the death of Floyd, Jacob Blake was shot in the back. And as with George Floyd, the video showed the details that sparked the Kenosha riots. The end result, a similar scene to so many other great American cities engulfed in flames. Summer 2020 started just days after the blooming of the world-famous DC cherry blossom trees, one of the most stunning visuals you'll see in any U.S. city. While the nation's capital has always been the de facto place to protest in America, this year will stand out in the history books. The city protested and protested and protested and protested. And when the protests met up at the Republican National Convention, D.C. devolved into bedlam. Rioters clashed with police. Neither side gave up ground. and it was all on display in front of a massive TV audience. It was difficult to separate the Black Lives Matter groups from the Antifa groups. One commonality, they both wanted the world's attention, and boy, they got it. It didn't matter, from U.S. senators to convention goers, innocent people were assaulted leaving that convention. Lady Liberty wept. The Windy City, the city on Lake Michigan, my hometown, the land of deep dish pizza and old style beer. Not a week goes by that Chicago streets aren't filled with gunfire, blood, homicide. The summer of 2020 has been bloodier than any other year on record in Chicago. That's quite a statement, given that Chicago is known for being one of the bloodiest cities in America. It's almost as if the mayhem in other cities has encouraged more bloodshed in Chicago. And if there's any city that doesn't need that kind of competition, it's Chicago. Trust me. What a year it's been, folks. Sadly, America has become unrecognizable. Now that summer has unofficially ended, will the cooler air also cool the tempers in our overheated cities, or will the mayhem continue? Let's ask the America This Week Magic 8 Ball. Too soon to tell. Thanks, Magic 8 Ball. You're always right.